Summit expected to reject U.S. decision over Golan. And Nigeria's embattled Chief Justice Onnoghen loses trial appeal. Hello and welcome to Africa Live on CGTN with me, Beatrice Marshall, in Nairobi. Also coming up on the program. In business, Nigeria's leather sector expected to generate over $1 billion by 2025. And in sports, East African domination of the World Cross Country Championships in Denmark. We begin our bulletin in Mozambique, where authorities are seeking to curb the spread of a cholera outbreak in the wake of Cyclone Idai. The number of cholera cases in the port city of Beira has now risen to 271 within 3 days. The first 5 cholera cases were confirmed in Monhava on Wednesday. Monhava is one of the poorest neighborhoods in the hard-hit city. It is still struggling to provide clean water and sanitation after Cyclone Idai made landfall on March the 14th. Patients have been receiving treatment at a center in the city. The World Health Organization says around 900,000 cholera vaccine cases are expected to arrive. Doses are expected to arrive on Monday, with a vaccination campaign starting later in the week. Cholera is spread by contaminated food and water and can kill within hours if not treated. Our reporter Angela Coppola has more on the story.
It's not an unexpected jump. Experts were expecting it.
5 are the number of laboratory confirmed. So yesterday we notified 139 cases, and today we notified 132 cases with 0 deaths.
So what happens when the treatment centres open is there is suddenly treatment available for people. So all of the cases that were lurking there in the community suddenly seek treatment. So you would see a natural spike in these kind of things.
Cholera is endemic to this part of Mozambique, according to the experts.
We will treat all cases of diarrhoea as if they are suspected of aid agencies, and I know the government is out there trying to make that possible.
So the outbreak that has taken place is of concern to all the experts, but they're not panicked. I'm Angelo Coppola for CGTN in Beira, Mozambique.
Now, March the 30th marks what is known as Land Day for Palestinians. It is a commemoration of the 1976 movement that has escalated into international rallies calling for Palestinians' right to return to their occupied land. Cairo has hosted a display of solidarity to renew calls for Palestinian rights. They've also rejected the recent violations of the United States, which recognized the occupied territories as part of the State of Israel. Here's Adel Mahroui with more.
The Palestinian Land Day marks a significant change in the Arab-Israeli conflict. That day has become a display of solidarity, which Egyptian politicians have been keen to commemorate.
The least we can do as Egyptians is to support the Palestinian cause by all means, morally or through sending medicine or any kind of aid. We also hold protests to urge our governments to activate international agreements to face this Zionist movement.
Palestinian Land Day comes this year after US President Donald Trump has recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital and Syria's Golan as an Israeli territory, defying international resolutions.
There is a weakness and difference among the Arab world. Israel is using that in its favor. The US President Donald Trump is taking decisions as if he is above the international law. Jerusalem and Golan are not properties of the United States that he can give them to Israel. This display of force is not acceptable, especially from the United States, which has founded the United Nations, an organization that has a clear position against the 1967 territories which Israel occupies.
In 1976, Israel announced a plan to expropriate thousands of acres owned by Arabs of Israel and other Palestinian-owned lands. Massive rallies broke in objection. That move is still commemorated on March 30th every year.
Palestinian Land Day comes at a time Arab leaders are gathering in Tunisia trying to revive a solution for the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. It's a reminder of the necessity of unity among Palestinians and Arabs, without which the hopes for an independent Palestinian state would fade away. Adel Mahroui, CGTN, Cairo.
Meanwhile, Arab heads of state are expected to meet at a summit on Sunday in the Tunisian capital, Tunis. The meeting comes against a backdrop of divisions, wars and increased repression in some countries. The 22-member Arab League is expected to oppose a U.S. decision to recognize Israel's annexation of Arab lands. The summit is also expected to be dominated by the Golan Heights and Palestinian demands for an independent state in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. Let's get the very latest on the Arab League summit, and let's go live now to CGTN's Onnoghen Chauchi. He's joining me in Tunis. Adel Mahroui is joining us from Cairo. But Onnoghen and Adel have both been following major developments in North Africa and the Middle Eastern region. Let's start off with you, Onnoghen, in Tunis, though, because Arab heads of state are gathered in Tunis, and they are expected to make some concrete resolutions at the summit today. So what is the latest from the meeting?
The latest is that the King of Jordan arrived last night, and now we are expecting the arrival of Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. Talking about concrete resolutions, I think for observers this is very difficult, but it's clear that all Arab leaders agree on the Palestinian cause. During the meeting of foreign ministers on Friday, they all expressed their support to the Palestinian cause, the political and also the financial support. So one maybe of the main outcomes of today's meeting will be the support to the unconditional support to the Palestinian cause, and also the financial support to the Palestinian authorities so that they can face the main challenges in Palestine. The support to the Palestinian cause, but also the non-interference in other countries' internal affairs. This is one of the main pillars of the Tunisian diplomacy. Tunisian foreign minister and also Tunisian president said that they reject any form of interference in the internal affairs of other countries. When Khamis Jinawi, the foreign minister, was talking, he meant the interference in the internal affairs of Sudan and also neighboring Algeria.
Adel, in Cairo, though, leaders of Sudan and Algeria are not expected to attend. Both nations are rolled over by anti-government protests over economic and political issues. But what is the main reasons the two are not attending the summit, though?
Well, for Algeria, it's quite clear that the medical health for President Abdelaziz Bouteflika has been standing against his participation in several of the previous summits as well, beside, of course, the troubled escalation and what is going on there. However, Algeria will be participating, of course, in the Arab League. Sudan as well will be participating with the defense minister and vice president Awad Mohammed Ahmed bin Auf, who will be there with the Sudanese Prime Minister, who have been attending the ministerial meeting, and several others. But for President Bashir, the reasons beside, of course, the internal political situation is that his misparticipation or skipping out the Arab Summit has been more or less common to the Arab member states who are members also in the International Criminal Court. And ICC in general has several cases against President Omar al-Bashir. So in courtesy to lift political pressure off Tunisia, he decided to stay. So it's mainly a political move from President al-Bashir not to engage Tunisia into any sort of international embarrassment or tension. And it has been quite customary for President al-Bashir to do so.
And from Tunis, though, Onnoghen, has there been a response from the summit on the U.S. decision over the Golan Heights, and what do you expect them to do?
I'll just remember one of the most important points mentioned over the past 2 days, the argument of the Secretary General of the Arab League, Mr. Ahmed Abul Ghait, who said that Arab leaders or Arab countries might disagree on the political settlement and the political solution and the agenda of the settlement of the crisis in Syria. But they all support the Syrian people, they all support Syria, and they all reject the decision of the US administration, which will cause unrest and more chaos in the region, as Abu Ghait said. It is also the position of the Tunisian diplomacy and many other countries in the region. So all Arab leaders disagree on many points and many issues, but for the Golan Heights, it is Syrian land, and this decision will block any peace initiative in the region. This will be discussed in the next few hours, and we are expecting the declaration of Tunis that will be announced in about 2 or 3 hours. And one of the major points will be the rejection of the U.S. Decision and the interference of the United States diplomacy, the United States in the internal affairs of Syria, especially the recognition of Golan Heights as non-Syrian land.
And Adel, Cairo has played a very big part in the affairs of the Arab League. What agenda is President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, though, taking to the summit?
The pressing issues that some of which Adnan have just mentioned is quite a priority for Cairo, and it has been one of the main reasons why Egypt has suddenly changed its schedule from primarily the president skipping the Arab League into just a sudden announcement several hours ago that he's heading to Tunis for the summit. So this is how keen the president and Cairo in general is toward these pressing issues. Also, just a few days after that summit, President el-Sisi is scheduled to travel to Washington, D.C. to meet President Donald Trump, through which the rejection of the Arab world will be portrayed with the recent decision, especially when it came to the Golan announcement from President Trump. Egypt has been quite keen to push forward peace talks between the Palestinians and Israelis for several years, but due to the escalations and the tension that has happened in the regions, particularly after the U.S. announcement and recognition for Jerusalem as Israel's capital, these entire processes and the hopes of resuming the peace talks have been stretching in time. And this is something that Cairo wants to put aside. It believes that the Palestinian crisis is the core conflict that has been fueling regional conflicts in several other countries. And el-Sisi believes that once the Palestinian conflict is resolved, the entire region will consequently calm down.
Adnan, let's get a final comment from you, though, because one of the issues that's high on the agenda is the situation in Libya. Has there been any development on Libya?
Mm-hmm. Of course, Beatrice, Libya, the Libyan issue is a priority for Tunisia and also for its neighbors, for Egypt and for Algeria and all the countries in the region. The quadripartite meeting ended very late at night, and there was a press conference during which a national meeting will be held in Libya, and all Libyan stakeholders have been invited to this meeting in the next 2 weeks. The United Nations, the African Union, the European Union and the Arab League have agreed to intensify their cooperation and the exchange of information on the Libyan situation. And they hope that this upcoming event in 2 weeks in Libya will pave the way for a national reconciliation forum in Addis Ababa in July. The special envoy of the United Nations, Mr. Hassel Salama, said that he hopes that this meeting in Libya and the upcoming meeting in July in Addis Ababa will pave the way elections in the coming months. The quadripartite meeting, the attendees at the quadripartite meeting said that they hope that the elections will be held by the end of 2019, maybe in December 2019. They all said that the security in Libya is a priority because insecurity in Libya affects the Sahel region, North Africa, and also the Mediterranean basin.
Tunisia hosted the quadripartite meeting on Libya as part of the Arab Summit in the presence of the United Nations, the African Union, the European Union, and the Arab League.
They've agreed to reinforce information exchange on the situation in Libya. A Libyan National Forum will be held in 2 weeks from April the 14th to the 16th. We hope for success for this political effort in order to rebuild the Libyan state and its institutions.
The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said the 4 organizations have found intensified forms of cooperation in support of a Libya-led political process.
It is my hope that the Libyan leaders will understand the enormous responsibility that they have and that they will be able to come together with solutions for the future of Libya, to the benefit of the Libyan people, but to the benefit of the whole region. And we all know the impact of Libya in the Sahel and many other parts of Africa, even in Europe.
The UN official and the African Union Commission chairperson announced that a Libyan National Reconciliation Forum will be held next July in Addis Ababa.
The African Union aims to accompany Libyans in the process. Libyans will have an opportunity in 2 weeks to make steps forward in the right direction of the Reconciliation Forum in Ethiopia, which will create a climate conducive to elections.
UN Special Envoy to Libya Hassan Salame declared that only Libyans can determine when the next elections will be held, though he hoped elections to be organized at the end of 2019.
Senior officials and ministers from the UN, the Arab League, the African Union and the EU believe that the persistence of political turmoil and instability in Libya will have a negative impact on the security situation in North Africa and the Mediterranean basin. All Libyan stakeholders have been urged to sit to the negotiating table. Adnan Shawishi, CGTN, Tunis.
Adnan Chauchi and Adel Makhroui for us there in Cairo and in Tunis, following the Arab League summit in Tunis for us today. Thank you both for your updates. Let's now take a short break on the program. Still ahead on Africa Live. Nigeria's embattled Chief Justice loses an appeal of no case. And in the UK, Theresa May mulls bringing a deal to Parliament for the 4th time.
How will your world change today? What happens here? What happens there? Or what you make happen for yourself? If it matters to you, it matters to us too. Your stories are the stories that need to be told. Africa Live. Find your voice. Africa Live. Find your voice.
Nigeria's embattled Chief Justice Walter Onnoghen has again lost an appeal of no case for trial appeal at the Code of Conduct Court. The court sitting on Friday has ordered lawyers representing Justice Onnoghen to file their defense against charges brought against the suspended Chief Justice by the 1st of April. CGTN's Kelechi Mekalam has more.
Another setback for Nigeria's embattled Chief Justice Walter Onnoghen. He's been battling to prevent his trial in the Code of Conduct Court and losing every single attempt. In his latest attempt, he wanted his trial dismissed on account of no case to answer. But the court did exactly the opposite. It ruled that Justice Onnoghen indeed has a case to answer based on his own written confession where he admits owning undeclared accounts. The court now wants him to file his defense to the case as soon as Monday. Public office holders in Nigeria are required to declare all assets upon assuming office.
A judge has a right to write a bench ruling without even rising. Yes. All he is looking for is there any evidence linking the defendant with the offense charge, and if that has the cross-examination been such that the evidence becomes useless.
Justice Onnoghen's lawyers disagree with the court. They're calling this a witch hunt, but clearly they have no choice. They have only the weekend to prepare their defense against the charges brought against their client, Justice Onnoghen.
So what we are seeing in this tribunal, very regrettably, is that the chairman has taken over the power of the other two members. He didn't allow them to talk. We pleaded with him. He rose up and left the court. What is happening? What is happening? Is this justice?
Months after charges of improper wealth declaration were brought against Justice Onnoghen, he has prevented the actual trial of the case. His lawyers have devoted more energy challenging the legitimacy of his trial by the anti-corruption court, but clearly they have run out of time. But they must now turn their focus on defeating the charges against Justice Onnoghen beginning Monday next week. Kelechi Emekalam, CGTN, Abuja, Nigeria.
And here in Kenya, a burial service has been held in the town of Nakuru for a family that lost 5 of its members in the recent Ethiopian Airlines plane crash. John Karanja lost his wife, his daughter and 3 grandchildren in the accident. Our reporter Daniel Arapmoy brings us this report.
Distraught and sobbing relatives and friends poured into John Karanja's ancestral home in Kwaamos village, Bahati sub-county in Nakuru. They are here to witness the final send-off of the 5 family members whose lives were cut short by the tragic Ethiopian airline plane crash. The gathering at St. Michael's Church had a powerful message: to unite as a community in mourning the dead and forever remember their good deeds while on earth. Words alone cannot describe the grief and pain John Karanja has got to live with.
What God did was the right thing, because His will should be done on earth as it is in heaven.
A burial with no coffins and no bodies to bury. This is the final send-off given to 5 members of John Karanja's family who died during the plane crash. This is all that is left in memory of John Karanja's family. Hundreds of mourners here are yet to come to terms with just placing flowers instead of bodies in the coffins.
As government of Kenya, through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we are going to work with the families until we put this matter to rest.
Mr. Karanja's family's sudden death came as his wife was returning from Canada, where she had gone to help her daughter Caroline Karanja, who had just given birth and had 2 other young children to look after. March 10th will forever be remembered as a dark day that took the life of Mrs. Karanja, their daughter Caroline, and our children Ryan Njoroge, Kelly Paul and Ruby Paul, the little baby boy who was just 9 months old. The Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 crashed minutes after takeoff southeast of Bishoftu, killing all 157 people on board. Daniel Arap Moy, CGTN, Nakuru, Kenya.
And still in Kenya this week, a 36-year-old maths and science teacher from Kenya became the first African to win the prestigious Global Teacher Award. Peter has ambitious plans to use the $1 million prize to improve the lives of his students and the community around his school.
Peter teaches at a school in Kenya's Rift Valley region. Many here are peasant farmers struggling to make a living. Education provides a beacon of hope. So like his father before him, Peter decided to become a teacher.
Really, teachers struggle a lot to ensure that good things happen. My father was a teacher, and it's like he used to inspire so many people. And not only other people, he also inspired me. And through his great work, I felt that teaching profession is really something nice that I also need to really do in the future.
Peter is also a Catholic priest. His main goal is to improve the lives of those around him inside and outside the classroom. Each month, about 80% of his salary goes towards community projects. He runs a peace club at the school and coaches his students in sciences. He also teaches the community about sustainable farming methods. On this day, Peter Tabichi's life changed forever. At a ceremony held in Dubai, the 36-year-old Kenyan science and maths teacher won the Global Teacher Prize 2019 and was crowned the best teacher in the world. It was a proud moment, one that he hopes will trickle down to transform the lives of his students. And with a Global Teacher Prize of $1 million, he is about to scale up his projects. First at his school.
I cannot solve all the problems facing the continent, facing the world. I'm just going to do a few things here and there that other countries, other people will look onto. So food insecurity, I'll try to initiate a project like kitchen gardening, growing of drought-tolerant crops, so that it will be one way of addressing that food insecurity.
And then at his community.
We don't have enough classrooms. We don't have laboratories. We just have one which is used for multi-purpose, for chemistry, biology, physics, all the science subjects. So I'll try to ensure that they have all of those facilities and they are well equipped.
Every year for the next 10 years, Peter will receive $100,000 in prize money. He believes the prize belongs to the community, and through his project, the best teacher in the world this year hopes to share his success with them. Wilkis Anyabwa, CGTN, Nairobi.
And further afield, an increasingly exhaustive and frustrating process for Brexit. British Prime Minister Theresa May is considering a possible fourth attempt to get her deal through Parliament. This comes after members of Parliament resoundingly rejected it once again. The deadlock pushes the country towards the growing risk of a chaotic no-deal exit in less than 2 weeks. On Friday, hundreds of protesters who favour leaving rallied outside Parliament, accusing members of Parliament of dragging their feet. They held up signs saying, "Free Britain now."
Mr. Speaker,
from a hoarse throat.
If this vote is not passed tonight, if this deal is not passed, then Brexit could be lost.
To a major disappointment that hints at a general election.
I fear we are reaching the limits of this process in this House.
March 29th, the date that Theresa May and many Brexiteers dreamed of for 2 years has come and gone, and Britain is still in the EU. She has tried hard enough. 3 votes, dozens of alternative deals, and even an offer to resign if Parliament passed her deal. The government has so far failed to win over 34 Conservative rebels, including both Remainers as well as Leavers, who say the deal still leaves the UK too closely aligned to Europe. Northern Ireland's DUP, which has propped up May's minority government, also continues to oppose the deal.
The implications of the House's decision are grave.
Grave implications. That's how May described the impact of this third defeat for the country. And the European Commission echoed, with calling an economically damaging no-deal split a likely scenario. Does that mean there's no way out? Well, data from the last votes may shed some light. Over the course of the 3 votes, there was a clear trend that more and more of our fellow party members were coming on side. From 230 in the first vote, 149 the second time, to only 58. The margins have significantly shrunk. A series of high-profile figures also switched to support the Prime Minister in the third vote, including former Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson, who used to be one of May's greatest critics. So what will happen next? On Monday, MPs will hold another set of votes on various Brexit options. Potentially another round of indicative votes will be held on Wednesday, and that leaves 2 possible options. 1, if the UK requests or the EU grants a further extension before April 10th's EU Leaders Summit, the UK will possibly take part in EU elections, and that means Brexit renegotiations and even new referendums. 2, if no further extension, then April 12th will be the new Brexit day, likely with no deal.
The U.S. is cutting aid to 3 Central American countries, which are the source of recent waves of migrants. The State Department says it will suspend payments to Honduras, Guatemala and El Salvador. And President Trump is threatening to close the border with Mexico if it does not do more to stop migrants. CGTN's Toby Muse has more.
US President Donald Trump is cutting aid to Central America and threatening to close the border with Mexico as the US struggles with exploding immigration along the border. The State Department announced it was cutting aid to Honduras, El Salvador and Guatemala at the president's orders. No reason was given for the move, but it comes as Trump voices frustration over growing numbers of immigrants from these countries crossing into the US. Critics said slashing aid to Central America could backfire and cause the ranks of illegal immigrants to swell as they flee countries mired in poverty and violence. Trump is also quarreling with Mexico, threatening to close the border unless it cracks down on illegal immigrants passing through Mexico to get to the US. The month of March is set to have more than 100,000 illegal border crossings, which would be the highest level in a decade.
But Mexico is going to have to do something, otherwise I'm closing the border. I'll just close the border. And with a deficit like we have with Mexico and have had for many years, closing the border will be a profit-making operation.
Trump could deliver on that threat as early as next week, a move that would be sure to send shockwaves through the border economy and beyond. Mexico is the US's third largest trading partner, with annual commerce topping $600 billion. Mexico's president says his country is doing what it can to curb the flow of immigrants, adding that he wants to avoid a spat with Trump.
Él tiene una visión.
He has a vision, and I respect it and consider it legitimate. But we have our strategy to handle migration, the creation of jobs, of welfare. We want migration to be optional, not obligatory.
Now, Trump has threatened to shut the border with Mexico in the past, and so far nothing has happened. But this time he's giving a timetable for the closure. We'll know in a few days' time if he means it this time. Toby Muse, CGTN, Washington.
You're watching Africa Live. Still ahead on the program. Nigeria's leather sector expected to generate over $1 billion by 2025. And a Lagos-based firm opens a design hub and innovation center in Kigali.
Africa is the nexus of enterprise, and global business will tell you why it matters.
From the mega investment projects to multi-billion-dollar mergers and acquisitions.
Africa today collects, just in terms of revenues from taxes alone, $545 billion a year. If you take 10% of that and you devote it to the energy sector, problem solved.
All this on Global Business, weekdays at this time on CGTN.
There's more to this place than just glorious landscapes. There's more to it than just, say, Table Mountain or glorious, endless salt flats. There's more to it than countries that are home to some of the deepest mines in the world. There is so much more to this place, even if it is home to some of the finest diamonds on the planet. It is the sheer diversity of the people who call Southern Africa home, and the relentless drive to make it a better place that make it so special. And we know that because this too is home. No one knows Southern Africa like we do. CGTN, see the difference.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
The Nigerian leather industry has been projected to generate over $1 billion by 2025, according to a report by the Nigeria Economic Summit Group. The industry represents a major foreign exchange earner after oil. Total exports of tanned skins amounted to about $240 million in 2015. CGTN Samson Omale visited one of the oldest and most famous tanneries in Nigeria to find out more.
Naragota village is a historical town in Jos that attracts tourists because of its leather and craft.
It was a kind of a family business, but now, right, for long it has not been really a family business. So many people come to learn from outside, not even just Nigeria. Some from Cameroon, Niger, as far as Burkina Faso. People came to learn. So I think they came, learned, and left, which I'm sure they are doing perfect now with their business and their families too as well.
The Naraguta village here in Jos, famous for its leather work, has a total population of over 20,000 people. And I'm told that in each household there are at least one tanner. The manual production process used across small industry in the village makes the leather product unique and competitive.
We make shoes, bags, horse saddle. Those were ancient things. This traditional dance attires and the rest. And now it has developed to body parts. We make body prosthetics that are even competing with the foreign ones.
There is some of my customers which I did not see them by face. But at times they are sending pictures in WhatsApp, even pouring oneself. They used to send it for us. We will do it much better than the one that they send it to us.
Nigeria currently boasts of some of the oldest tanneries on the African continent, but these tanneries are in dire need of modern production facilities.
We don't have modern machineries, right, in order to boost our production. That's from the tannery, right, to the finished product. In fact, we need machineries, modern machineries that can aid us in doing that. And you know, with machineries, within a very short time, you'll be able to produce as much as possible.
But leather entrepreneurs say with proper government policies and interventions, Nigeria can make leather its second highest foreign exchange earner. Samson Omale, CGTN, Jos, Nigeria.
That war is flash drive
around the world.
Huawei, in the meantime, looks to continue to grow its footprint and establish partnerships in Africa. Astatal, CGTN.
African cities like Nairobi, Cape Town and Lagos could be ahead of the game when it comes to digital innovations. But Kigali is catching up. Recently, a Lagos-based tech hub opened a design and innovation center in the Rwandan capital, Kigali. CGTN's Lonela Lupuama caught up with the company's project manager, Tomi Jayola. Here are excerpts from the interview.
So we are the research and development unit of Co-Creation Nigeria. Co-Creation Nigeria, the hub there is a technology innovation center. We deal with incubation of technology startups. We are a part of an arm of that, but we're mostly focused on research and development here. And so what that means is there's a multidisciplinary team of researchers, scientists, developers, engineers here. Our real main goal is incorporating human-centered design in how we solve problems.
And you've been running in Nigeria for about 8 years now. You've moved to Kigali in February.
Yes.
Why Kigali?
Kigali has really spent significant investments in making this place a very enabling environment for local and foreign technologists as well. And so for us, we're looking for a place to continue where we can deepen collaborations with stakeholders across sectors, but also, and very importantly, a place that will inspire creativity for the work that we do.
And you're working across different sectors. We're talking economy, we're talking health, we're talking education. We've got a lot of recurring problems within the continent. For instance, the Ebola keeps coming back. What are you doing to help?
A big part of our thematic area here is public health, and specifically digital epidemiology. And that is how do we use data and technology to help with monitoring surveillance of diseases and infectious diseases in Africa, which is a problem. And so one of the ways we're doing that is we're developing a network of researchers, scientists, engineers, data scientists as well, coming together. And it's an African network, it's a Pan-African network. So it's how do we explore technology and data and improving how we monitor and monitoring and surveillance of these diseases, and to also helping prevention of epidemics around the continent. And other projects that we're working on in health, with the, for instance, Nigerian Institute of Medical Research, we're developing a digital tool in improving adherence to treatment. So a lot of times, even like in tuberculosis, because of a lot of stigma, people don't finish their treatments, and we have the same relapse and the problem again. So part of our project, we're doing a medical trial right now for about 6 months, and our developers are working on the back end with the tool to keep improving it. And the goal again is to continue to spread those interventions to other parts of the continent as well.
I understand this wing of the Co-Creation Hub is fairly new, but let's look at your plans for Africa's education sector. What lies ahead?
For us in education, our goal is how do we make STEM education attractive? Africa needs a lot of scientists and engineers, and people are slowly pulling away from that in schools. And so one of the ways we've done is through digital labs, where what we do is it's a gamified environment, so students are playing games, but they're learning content in science, biology, and chemistry. And the goal is, again, like I said, to improve interest in STEM education. Another way we're doing it is, for the teachers specifically, the teacher training is moving from more instructional type of teaching to inquiry-based learning using those labs where students are active participants of their own learning as well.
Stay with us here on Africa Live. We still have more news for you on the program. Here's what's ahead. Ethiopia's prestigious movie awards held in Addis Ababa.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
The most respected Ethiopian Movie Awards was held on Tuesday night in Addis Ababa. The Guma Film Awards event, which is said to be Ethiopia's equivalent of the Academy and BAFTA Awards. The 6th edition of the glamorous Guma Film Awards recognized Ethiopia's Best Movie of the Year, Best Actor, Best Actress, Director, and many more. It is believed such events can take the Ethiopian movie sector to the next level. Here's CGTN's Gerum Chala.
Celebrity arrivals, photo shoots, fashion from traditional to modern, and glamorous appearance both on the stage and the crowd. Most famous movie stars, musicians, directors, producers, all are here. The 6th Guma Film Awards has it all. Then the real event begins. In more than 14 categories, outstanding film works have been awarded. Best Movie of the Year, Best Actor and Actress, Best Director, and many more. The Lifetime Achievement Award was given to the globally renowned Ethiopian filmmaker Haile Gerima. The organizer, Jonas Brahanemoa, says the Guma Film Awards contributes in motivating the Ethiopian movie industry.
For one, we want new filmmakers to be seen in the film industry quickly. And the other thing, we want to recognize the efforts of filmmakers and films that are really well done professionally. So I think it's encouraging for filmmakers. When I say filmmakers, the cast and the crew too.
This is the 6th time in a row Guma Film Awards is being held here in Addis Ababa. Many even compare this event as Ethiopia's version of the Academy and BAFTA Awards. But one can for sure say the award will encourage these artists to strive for more work.
These awards have motivated us to do more. It gives new filmmakers hope to deliver better quality works.
When you get recognized and awarded, it's human nature to be motivated to do better every day. So awards like Guma should be thanked for the overall contribution and growth of the movie industry in Ethiopia.
I'm as a writer and a producer and actress. So I get the best award from the female actress. So I'm very happy. And I was not expecting this, but it makes me strong to work for the next day. So I'm happy.
Guma wished to also embolden the production of films which will reflect the Ethiopian culture and heritage. It is more like making movies cultural ambassadors of Ethiopia to the rest of the world. When Guma Film Awards returns to this National Theatre next year to stage its 7th edition, it is with a great hope that the Ethiopian movie industry will be moving one step ahead and many more new creative but globally competing films will be seen on the cinema screens across the country. Grumtara CGTN at the National Theatre at Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
And your sports news coming up next. Here's what's ahead. There has been an East African domination at the World Cross Country Championships in Denmark.
Africa, where champions are made, records are broken, legends are born. We're there for every goal, for every knockout, for every step of the way.
Match Point, only on CGTN.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
East African athletes dominated the 2019 IAAF World Cross Country Championships in Denmark, winning all the medals on offer. In the senior women's race, Kenya's Helen Obiri claimed her maiden cross-country gold medal after leading the race from the gun to tape.